Alright, so I'm off on a bit of an overlanding adventure today. Did some errands, so I figured I might as well go somewhere different. Too much of a crowd down there where I was at. Wanted to find something different, so this is just exploring. I'll tell you a little more about how I found this place towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, if you're new here, my name is Robert Witham. I'm just a guy with a lifelong love affair of road trips and being on the open road and getting out into the backcountry as far as I can without getting stuck or breaking something. And so I'm going to try and do that a little more today. So I invite you to come along and join me on this adventure as I do some overlanding in a conversion van. Alright guys, I wanted to show you where I landed after this little epic adventure. This is pretty incredible, isn't it? I'm still in southern Nevada, not Pahrump, not within the town of Pahrump, but I am in southern Nevada, in the Mojave Desert still. And basically what this comes down to, and this is, you've heard me talk about this for a while, I'm going to do a video real soon on the tools I use and how exactly I do this, but you saw it happen today. And what I do is I start with looking for BLM or Forest Service land that's either not so far from a town or that's not too far from a major road, so that because I know there's going to be cell towers in and on the edges of town, and there's going to be cell towers along major roads. So if I know there's cell coverage in those places, then I'm going to go ahead and look for BLM or forest land from there, and then I'm going to go explore and, you know, get a hunt around and find the roads. You can, I start with U.S. Public Lands app. You can use other things too, but that's where I start with, and go explore. I'll cover a lot of these tools in an upcoming video. You know, let me know if that's something you're interested in. I'm assuming people would like to see that again. I've talked about it some in the past, but do a fresh update on that with the tools I'm using these days. And I go explore, and you know, I looked at a bunch of places around here, and some of them were fantastic, but there was no cell phone coverage. I gotta have cell phone coverage for work. So I hunt around until I find somewhere that's got the cell coverage I like, and it's isolated, and it's nice and quiet. And you know, I was able to find this incredible spot. I'm probably 4 miles off the nearest road, up in the hills. I'm 1,000 feet above the valley, so it's just a little bit cooler, and the views are fantastic. Some of the road I was on was any decent vehicle with reasonable ground clearance, like you could do it, even a minivan or something, a crossover. At times it was definitely a 4x4 trail. I did that in a conversion van. There's a few things that come in there. I think the first is to be confident in your own skills, and by confidence I do not mean delusion. Delusion is just thinking, hey, I've got this, when you really don't know what you're doing. You haven't learned how to drive off-road, and you haven't learned what you can and cannot do, and when you're going to get in trouble. So confidence in your off-road driving skills. If you don't have that, you don't have experience that, I mean, we all start somewhere, right? Try and find some friends who do have it that'll go out with you and help you learn, or consider going to somewhere like Overland Expo. They have 3 of them this year coming up, hopefully, assuming they can hold them still. The spring one's already been pushed back and delayed, but there are 3 of them planned, and one of the things they do there is classes for off-road driving. So check that out. I've never done those there, but I've seen them advertised. That might be worth looking into. And otherwise, it just takes time and practice. Second thing I'd say is to understand the capabilities of your vehicle. Good off-road tires are going to go a long, long ways to getting you into the backcountry, but also you need traction. And so 4-wheel drive is generally going to get you further than 2-wheel drive, but these full-size 2-wheel drive vans are generally surprisingly good off-road, and surprisingly good off-road capability if you put good tires on them. Now you can put a locker in the rear end, you can get it converted to 4-wheel drive, then you're really getting somewhere. But even the 2-wheel drives are generally pretty good. You got a high top, you need to be aware of that, because you're going to get more rock when you get into the bumpy stuff. And the third thing is to have a plan for recovery in case you do get stuck. I have some gear with me, and you need to limit your off-roading to terrain that you're confident you can extract yourself from with your gear, or that whoever's traveling with you can extract you from. So I know what I've got for gear, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know what the van's capable of doing. Matter of fact, I've pushed this van not on purpose. I've ended up in some places I didn't want to be, and the van still handled it fine with the tires that are on it and everything, and with my skills off-road driving. But I also know what I got for recovery gear, which is a little bit limited because of space. But I do have friends who are not so far from here, within a relatively short drive, that would come and help me get recovered if I were to get stuck. Now, I don't want to have to do that, but I know what I've got, and I know people who would help me out if I needed help in a pinch. So don't just go taking any vehicle and go down a 4-wheel drive road if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't done it before. So there's a lot of times this idea that you have to go overlanding and to get out in the backcountry like where I am right now. You saw some of the trails I was on. You have to have a jacked up 4x4 and all kinds of fancy gear on it and stuff, and you really don't. You have to have a capable vehicle, and you have to have a certain level of skill and experience with off-road driving. And then beyond that, you can get a lot of places in a two-wheel drive vehicle. Now, where I'm at right now, you would never in a million years get an RV to. You would not get a minivan up here. You'd have ripped the bottom off it before you got there. You wouldn't get up here in the passenger cars I've traveled in full time because you'd have ripped them apart. So you do have to have a certain amount of ground clearance if you want to get way back. You have to have, on a lot of roads, you have to have a certain amount of traction, you know, good tires, and a certain amount of skill to do it. And you know, you do want some recovery gear, or be traveling with people who have recovery gear so you can get unstuck when you get stuck. And even the pros who have been doing this for a long time and have fancy rigs and stuff, they still get stuck sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed these views coming up here. Really nice. This is southern Nevada. It's not all flat, boring desert. You can definitely get out and explore and find some great places. I know a lot of us are limited how much we can travel right now, but some of us are on the road and we have to be somewhere. So after you get supplies, well, you might as well go somewhere different, right? And I promise you, there is nobody within miles of where I'm at right now. So there is no risk of any spread of anything going on up here at this incredible campsite. Hey, before we go, if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button, smash it, bang it, you know, do something to it, and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. I try to bring travel-related content at least a few times a week, sometimes more, so subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks, everybody.